What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another very exciting episode right here on the MIgardener channel. In today's episode, we are getting our tomatoes planted finally. But I thought I'd also bring you guys along to talk about some common misconceptions and myths with planting tomatoes. There are questions that come up a lot in our inbox, and sometimes it's nice just to do a video on them rather than address them in an email. Because when we address them in an email, yeah, it helps one person, but sometimes we see them very commonly and we're like, okay, if we've seen this 5 or 6 times, or sometimes even 7 or 10 times in a single week, there's gotta be 10 times more people that just are too afraid to answer or ask the question, and they're too afraid to ask something they might think is a dumb question. And since there's no such thing as dumb questions, we're gonna talk about it in today's video. All right, let's go. All right, the first not dumb question that we're gonna answer is, how deep should your tomato plants be planted? The reason why this isn't a dumb question is because, well, there's lots of gardeners that don't know their tomato plants should be planted deep. Now, how deep we're gonna get into, but also the reason why you wanna plant them deep is because tomatoes are a vine, and anywhere they touch the soil, they're going to set down roots. Tomato plants are unique in this. You can't and you shouldn't plant things like your beans or your lettuce deep because they're not going to set down roots all along the stem. Even plants that are in the same family, like peppers and eggplants, should not be planted deeply, and that's because they're not going to set down roots all along the stem. Tomatoes actually have little hairs all along the stem, and those little hairs are what set down new roots. And so the more roots you have, the more established the plant is going to be and the healthier the plant can be. So it's not, it's something that not a lot of people know about. And so it's not a dumb question to ask how deeply your tomato plant should be planted. Now, I typically say as deep as you want. You can plant it right on the surface and be fine. The plant's not gonna die, or it shouldn't die. But if you want the best results, I say at least 2 to 4 inches. That's kind of a minimum. You can plant it all the way up to the top set of growth if you want to do so, but that sometimes seems a little bit overkill. I usually say at least 2 to 4 inches. And all we do is we come in, we pinch off the lower 2 to 4 inches of leaves. If there's 2 plants, make sure you kind of come in and separate them. What's really nice about separating plants out that are existing like this is you can literally just rip that root ball, and these plants are really resilient because you're gonna plant them deeper, so any roots you damage are gonna be gained from the plant being planted deeper. The next not dumb question that we get asked when planting tomatoes is, I heard that if I add Epsom salt or baking soda to my plants, it makes the fruit sweeter. Is this true? Now, this isn't a dumb question just because of how many people believe this to be true. Now, it is a very common misconception, and we've covered this in the past, but unfortunately, even we could cover it 5, 10 times and it would still come up just as frequently as it does, and that's because of just how widespread this misconception is. When you're adding things like baking soda or Epsom salt, you can actually unfortunately swing the pH of your soil. And when you swing the pH of your soil, you can make it too alkaline or too acidic in trying to make your tomatoes sweeter. And that can actually have a negative side effect, because if you do that, you can actually cause the plants to be stressed and sometimes even fruit less. Baking soda is just sodium bicarbonate. And the downside with adding that is that it can actually make your soil very alkaline, and you don't want to necessarily do that. Now, if you add something like magnesium sulfate, which is Epsom salt, that is a sulfur compound, and yes, it does add magnesium, but it also adds sulfur, which can make your soil too acidic. And tomatoes like a pH of right around 6 to 6.5. They do like it slightly acidic, yes, but too acidic can cause problems. And so unless, of course, you've found that you need to actually change the pH of your soil, sometimes adding things like Epsom salt or baking soda and whatnot can actually cause more harm than good. But what will make your tomatoes sweeter? And that is actually keeping your fruit on the plant longer. And then that will divert more sugars to those fruits, making them sweeter. All right, the next not dumb question that people ask when planting their tomatoes is, I heard adding a black mulch will make my tomatoes ripen faster. Now, this actually can be true. You can ripen your tomatoes faster through a black mulch. However, what I really would caution people on is the misconception that it's the mulch that is making their tomatoes ripen faster. Now, a mulch can be good if you live in a cold climate. This is not a dumb question to ask because there is some truth to it, but it's just that in certain climates it can actually kill the plants, and it can actually cause harm to the plant, because when the soil gets too hot, it can actually bake and fry roots. If you're up in northern climates, like here in Michigan or even further north, you can actually have some benefit with adding a mulch, because that will actually warm the soil sooner, giving you earlier fruits, and your fruits are going to ripen obviously sooner as well, because the plants are going to be a little bit more developed. So there can be some benefit, but just geographically know where you're at. If your summertime temperatures are regular in the high 80s, low 90s, that's way too hot to have black mulch on your plants, unless of course you're literally watering every single day to keep your plants cool. So just something to consider. You got to be careful when you're adding mulch, because sometimes it can cause problems. Now, the next thing with that is, if you're looking at getting your plants to or if you're looking at getting your fruits to ripen sooner, sometimes picking a variety that just ripens sooner is going to be better than trying to force them to ripen sooner. Tomatoes will ripen when they're ready to ripen, and forcing that to happen can sometimes, like I said, just cause more harm than good. And so with tomatoes, you have a variety of different types. Your cherries are going to ripen way faster than a beefsteak tomato, and a little round slicer is going to ripen far faster than a beefsteak tomato. And so depending on what you're looking for, even within the varieties, you can also get like a yellow tomato, which will ripen faster than a red tomato, and like a red tomato will ripen faster than a purple tomato. And that's not obviously 100% going to be the case across all varieties, but color differences also play a big role in how fast they ripen. And so by picking different colors or different fruit sizes, that can have more an effect on how fast the fruit ripen than mulching does. All right, the next not dumb question when planting tomatoes is, what is the difference between determinate and indeterminate? Now, a lot of people just think tomatoes are tomatoes, and yeah, that's true. Tomatoes are tomatoes, but there's a big difference between plant types. And an indeterminate tomato is a plant that will continue to grow and produce all season long. As long as you don't get a frost, that plant will continue to produce more growth and more tomatoes, right up until the very last second that it can produce fruit. So that is an indeterminate, whereas a determinate produces a set amount of fruit and the plant grows to a set height. These are more commonly seen as bush varieties of tomatoes. These bush tomatoes usually only get about 3 to 4 feet tall. You don't want to prune them, because all of that growth will produce fruit. So pruning them will be it'll be a bad thing, because you're going to reduce your fruit yields. Whereas with an indeterminate, pruning is recommended. And that's because since it grows all season long, you're going to end up by the end of the season a giant tangled up, mangled up mess. And it can actually be kind of bad for the plant, because it can cause things like disease, like early onset of blight. And if you don't want blight, you want to prune your tomatoes. So the indeterminates are going to be pruned so that they can grow all season long, they can have good airflow, and they can focus most of their fruit on that single main growth point, that growth stem that's going to be growing all season. So that's the biggest difference between determinate and indeterminate. The next not dumb question we get asked when planting tomatoes is, how far should I space my tomato plants apart? Now, this really has to do with your personal preference. You see, if you're growing your plants high intensity and you're single stemming them, meaning you're pruning everything but a single main growth point that you're going to continue to grow up a tall stake, you're going to have a whole lot more airflow, and therefore you can plant your plants much closer together. We do that, and we plant our plants about 1.5 feet apart, which seems really close, but it's actually just fine, because by the end of the season, they're barely touching. There's plenty of room in between each plant because of how aggressively we prune our plants. Now, if you're not into pruning your plants, and you're more like just let it bush and go wild, or you're growing a determinate tomato, which is more of a bush style tomato, you want to give them a lot more space, and typically that's going to be about 3 feet. So the difference between 1.5 feet and 3 feet all has to do with your style of gardening and the type of tomato you're growing. All right, the final not dumb question that we get asked all the time is, Luke, I think I missed my planting window. How do I know if it's too late to plant, and should I just wait until next year? Now, this is a very, very common question and one that grinds my gears, not because it's being asked, but because it is our mission to get you to put a garden in and enjoy your garden as much as you can. And I think far too often gardeners think that just because their neighbor already has their garden planted, well, I must be too late. And oftentimes gardeners feel that there's like a set season when they need to be starting their stuff. If you haven't started your stuff by that like set time, well then forget it, you're too late. And unless of course you're saying this in like late July, it's not too late. And the reason is because tomatoes, yes, they mature in like 75 to 85 days, which is a pretty long time, but most people's growing season is 120 to 150 days. That's the average growing season here in the United States. So with a growing season of 120 to 150 days, you can basically be in early July, take a tomato seed, plant that tomato seed, and have ripe tomatoes by the end of your growing season. And that's in July. And we hear oftentimes people say this in like late March or early April, Luke, I think I'm too late to start my tomatoes, and I just don't know if it's too late, but I also don't know how to tell if it's too late. It's too late if you've run out of days until maturity. What you want to do is you want to look at your first frost date. Your first frost date is going to tell you if you have enough days to grow that plant. If that first frost date, you count backwards, let's say you have 120 days to your first frost date, then if you're growing something that matures in 85 days, you've got plenty of time to grow that crop. And so get it in the ground. Do not procrastinate. Get it in the ground, despite how big your neighbor's plants might be, despite how much your neighbor says, you're probably too late and you're not going to get a harvest. Forget it. Who's to say? It's your garden and it's your rules, and I would highly recommend you start your plants even if you think you're too late, because the worst that's going to happen is you're going to have a life lesson. And so don't hesitate and get your plants in the ground. So as always, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something new. If you do have more questions that you fear are dumb questions, do not hesitate to ask them, because you never know, I might film another video on it. And if you did enjoy this video and you liked this style of video, post down in the comments box below you want to see more things like this that are dumb questions that are not actually dumb. I'd love to cover more, because I don't think there's such a thing as a dumb question, and I'd love to do more videos just like this. So as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel, reminding you to grow big or go home, and we'll catch you all later. See ya. Bye.